hello there, and welcome to another Irish Connection Country Show, and you're very welcome along. I hope you're going to enjoy the next half hour or so with us. And today is a very, very special show because we're dedicating it to one band, a band that have been around the Irish music scene for over 40 years, and they're celebrating it this year. And the band in question I'm talking about is, of course, none other than the wonderful Indians. And I have here in the studio with me to talk a little bit about the Indians and to give us some history into the band are two of the original members of the band, and a little bit later we're going to be meeting their brand new lead singer. But before that, I want to introduce you to the gentleman who is their manager, their head honcho. That's Eamonn Keane. Eamonn, you're very welcome along to the Irish Connection show.
Thank you very much, Sean.
How are you?
Very well, very well.
And of course, welcome to Brian as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sean.
Now, you guys are the backbone of the Indians. You started all off some 40 years ago. Now, tell us a little bit, because the Indians originally weren't known as the Indians. They were, of course, under another name, weren't they, before you decided to upgrade it? What was that?
Well, we started off in school. So Brian and I were in school for De La Salle Brothers in Dublin. And we started out a band called the Casino in 1962.
Well, I started in 62.
He's just making this out because he's the youngest, you know.
He was on the road before me.
Yeah. So in 62 we started the Casino and did very well. We're well known in the 60s. But at that time you had lots and lots of show bands, and I think in Dublin, registered with the Irish Federation of Musicians, there was 650 bands registered in the 60s. It was a really big business then. But we never made it to the top. We were playing good music and enjoying ourselves as well. We were young kids. And it wasn't until the end of the 60s that, into 1970, when we decided, like, we're going nowhere here. So we approached people who had been looking after various bands, such as the Capital Showband, the Miami Showband, and we asked them if they'd be interested in taking on the Casino. And first impression was yes we would, but you need to change your image. You're now 9 years playing and you haven't really hit the top, which is true. So it was then they put the idea to us. We have an idea. Now, relax, because it's going to shock you. And I said, right, what is it? And they said, well, we're going to call you the Indians. So we looked at each other, the Indians. Looked back to him to see, was he smiling, like you are?
Yeah.
And he wasn't smiling, so we knew then he was serious. But we had other lads in the band that we needed to put this to. It was okay, us being fed what might happen and all that. So we went back to the fellas. We took a night out. Went back to the fellas and put it to them. And again, they had this look of kind of this
disbelief.
The lads, like, spin this a bit of a scale here. So anyway, we said to them, you think about it. We'll come back tomorrow, we'll all meet. But remember, this is an idea that is there, and it certainly, when you think about it, there's a big opening. And would you believe, everybody came back with a yes, a positive. And once we got that, we started out in 1971.
Okay, well, Brian, what was your thoughts on this idea that was suddenly thrust upon you about becoming the Indians? I mean, again, they could have picked any name of any band in the world, and I mean, all of a sudden you're thrown with this thing that you've imagined were only known in cowboy films, the Indians. What was your first thought about this?
Well, Eamonn and Shay, who was our medicine crow, our country singer, who sadly died a couple of years ago, they were the leader and deputy leader. So they went and met the management. They came back to us now, and quite frankly, I think everybody laughed at first, because it was, we said, right, they're going to take our band over. You're in suits and white shirts, and so they said, you're going to have to dress up as Indians and paint your faces. And we sort of laughed and said, come on, you're not serious.
Yeah, like everybody else, a good laugh.
But then it's only when they said, no, we're serious. They want to take us over. They're going to put the full weight of top line promotions behind us. So then we started thinking of, there's a number, Running Bear, and there's all the different numbers, Rock and Red Wing, old Indian numbers that we had heard, back to the 60s. And So when we started thinking about it, and then the idea of the costumes, you know, where we were used to suits, and everyone had in those days just wore the same suit and ties, and you know, so we got these hired costumes from one of the big costumers,
Raymond's,
Raymond's in London.
Is that what you had to do? You had to hire the original
just because we didn't really know, it was a new territory.
Right.
So the lads went over and picked out stuff, brought it back.
Well, no, don't blame us on that. No, we didn't. We did our best. But what happened was, you see, wasn't it, the costumes had just come back from Western.
Spaghetti Western,
you know. But when they sent the stuff over to us, it arrived. Do you remember that in the Olympic ballroom?
Mm-hmm.
And there was squaws outfits as well, you know. So we were trying out the gear, and we're in the Olympic ballroom on the floor, and we were rolling around the place because, I mean, you throw something to something and he puts it on, and it's a girl's costume, you know. So here we had these macho fellas putting on squaws outfits, and then we realised, of course. But it was a fun day, wasn't it? I mean, the day when we set this up.
When you explore the possibilities, you know, because every band sort of basically looked the same. So we said, well, here was a chance for us to play this, maybe the same music or similar music. And in fact, we went more from the Casino would have been sort of a pop and country band, but we had a very good singer from Belfast, Mel Austin, and he was, you know, a good poppy image. But we were switching from that to a more country image, and Eamonn and Che played accordion from the old De La Salle accordion band day. So they were reintroduced on stage. So it was more like a country-driven program. And then Noel Brady, who was the original chief, he was doing the Elvis stuff, and Cliff Richard. So it was, you know, a good mixture.
A great mixture, yeah.
Tell us, what was it like, Brian, when you know, you were told Noel Brady, now all of a sudden Noel had to go and dress up as this chief, which was the original chief of the Indians. I mean, how did he find about this? Because obviously he had to dress up even more than yourselves.
Well, we actually had a headhunting a singer, and we hadn't got a singer at the time, and we went to a talent show in the Drake Inn in Finglas, and Noel wasn't too far away from that area, and we saw him. He was very, very raw. He was only 17 years of age, very, you know, rough and ready, if you like to put it that way, and
he, baby.
Yeah, and he was just dying to get into show business. He was, I mean, when he joined us at first, he used to sing, getting into the van. He sang all the way to the gig, rigging up the gear, sang on stage, and just never stopped singing all the time. So he just, that's what he wanted to do. And
part of the story that you must know is when we were told about this talent contest that was going on.
That you went down to see.
We went down to see. We were going down actually to see his brother, but his brother couldn't do the show. He got ill. And Noel took the spot.
Right.
So afterwards then, when we approached him, we found all this out. This is not Sean, this is Noel. Mm-hmm. And just that's the way.
And that's the way because of course, I mean, the image of the Indians is very lively. I mean, whoever does, you know, and is the lead voice of the Eagles, the Indians, beg your pardon, has to have a very outgoing personality. It's nobody so that shy stands back. You have to really let yourself go, don't you? Which you've proved with all the chiefs that you've had.
You're in showbiz, you should be letting yourself go anyway. Mm-hmm. Each of the members of the band let themselves go and do their little bits on stage, you know. I think when it gets to the stage where you've just got fellas standing in the background, it's a bit of a waste, isn't it?
I mean, how long did it take you to really sort of adapt to this brand new image that the Casino Showband had suddenly been thrust upon
Not
yourselves?
long at all, because I mean, we started out on the 16th of January in Shannagolden in County Limerick, and we had a very small crowd, but we knew, didn't we? And at the end of the night, we knew there's something in this, because the place just erupted.
It's a curiosity value of, you know, like a band in suits, and this band dressed up as, you know, because the photographs were appearing in the local papers, and you know, these guys would, you know, they probably didn't really know who we were. But I talking about the very, very first night, I can always remember it was like an old-fashioned country hall with little wings at the side, and we were sort of waiting to go on, and there was a lad we'd just recruited called Dougie Walsh. He was at Spotted Tail, was it, at stage now? And see, we got him out the front. He was a shy sort of lad, so we said, right, Dougie, it's your turn. I've pushed him out the first, and then but once he went down, got a bit of applause, everyone then.
We all followed on then, yeah.
Now, talking about yourselves now, I mean, how did you pick the names, your stage names? Because, like, as I said, they're all pseudonames that you've taken over the years and held on to them. I mean, just explain those to us.
Well, that happened again in the Olympic Ballroom because Paddy Burns, our manager, appointed by Top Line Promotions at the time, he got a book, History of the Indians, and he brought in names. So what we did was we tied the name to more or less to the character. Right? Brian got CrazyHorse.
Don't know why.
You definitely look like a crazy horse.
And I got Sitting Bull. Here I am, I'm sitting. But we had Little Thunder was Chris, our drummer, because he made noise.
Because he made the noise, yeah, obviously.
And then we had Dull Knife, who was John, Brian's brother, on lead guitar. And John was quiet, withdrawn, very witty, you know. So we put Dull Knife, that's a good one, you know. Nice. You think he's dull until he starts talking to you, you know.
Yeah.
And
try and explain Spotted Tail now.
Well, I was trying to just skip over that one. We gave Spotted Tail to Dougie. And then Flaming Star was obvious.
Was going to be the chief?
Has to be, because he's an Elvis fan, and we were able to do the song Flaming Star.
Flaming Star, that's brilliant.
And that's really what we did. Just
now, you've told us how you picked the names. Now, picking the songs as well that you do in your repertoire, because obviously a lot of your songs are to do with Indians, like Indian Burial Ground, Travelling Indian Band and stuff like that. Scores on the Yukon.
Wedding, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, you must have had a long time to actually sit down, the lot of you, and say, well, what kind of songs can we do? Because, I mean, there was no good you going on and doing sort of ordinary, straightforward songs. You had to do songs that related back to the Indians.
Everybody did contribute to that. You know, we'd bring up something that they heard or have it at home and bring it in. And we rehearsed quite a lot, you know, at the outset to get up a good, strong program. And we did that, and we used to rehearse quite a lot.
And of course your dance moves as well, because I mean you moved around a bit, and I mean you've got an amazing way that you kick off your show, which, as I said, I've seen your actual show, and it is an amazing way. I mean, it is something different from any other band on the planet.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, Brian will tell you how the routine came about.
How did that? Right, Brian, tell us a little bit. How did this routine that you open your show with?
Yeah, you're asking about numbers, and lots of people would have come up to us and said, there's a number, it might have been recorded before, or else some people would have written original material, and one particular number was written for us. What's the name? Pat Coyle. Pat Coyle, a lad, was going through a bad period in his life, and he said he wrote this number, and we said, well, we'll change it around a little bit. So my sister-in-law was in a dance troupe in Dublin, the Olympia, the Cruzettes, and we asked her, she did a little routine, very simple routine, you know. So
but at the same time, when you think of it, at that time, even though it was simple, it was difficult because we were all to do the same movements, you know, it was choreographed properly for us.
That's the wigwam wiggle, isn't it?
Yeah, and to do your steps, and we were playing the instruments at the same time. I mean, nowadays, and I'm not taking from anybody, but nowadays you have vocal groups, they're not bands, they're not playing and doing their movements, you know.
That's right.
They're hand movements, foot movements and things like that. At that time, when we started out, we were the only band that was really doing a choreographed routine. And she did a great job, Yvonne.
Yeah, because I mean, like, the Wigwam Wiggle is probably one of the most famous Indian.
It will be the most requested song that we had.
Yeah. I mean, you can't leave it out. You can't leave it out. If you, for some reason, if you're doing a Christmas program, you're putting in extra numbers, and you may just by some freak leave it out. Oh, you didn't do the Wigwam Wiggle, you know. And it's like it's a major thing.
I mean, one of my favourite songs that you do is the old Loretta Lynn song, "Your Chief Is on the Warpath."
Yeah.
Great song, and I love that. It's just that bass, the way it kicks in. You know, the drums and the bass, the way they kick in on that song just really nails it for me. You know what I mean? But like over the years now, and as I said, like looking back over the 40 years, I mean, what would you say would have been some of the highlights for the Indians?
Highlights would have been, I suppose, every night, because there wasn't room for another person in any of the venues we played. It was so popular, the whole thing became, it just mushroomed over the 70s, that decade. We were doing absolutely amazing business, and the people were with us all the way.
And of course, like you did something that a lot of other bands didn't do. You broke in England as well on the English
We had to do
country
that.
music
we
scene,
had to
didn't
do
you?
that when the 70s came, when the 80s came along, because disco took over. You had a Saturday Night Fever with John Travolta, and people in our country, you see, you had the likes of the ballrooms were not licensed to sell drink. So what happened then was the hotels found this little loophole in the law where they could get an extension to their bar on condition that they had a dinner dance. So what they did was they put down, say, sausage and chips or Irish stew, could be anything at all, and then they got their extension. So they put on a disco rather than put on a band. It was cheaper for them to put on the disco. But the other thing about it was, in the law, was that it was a substantial meal costing, wait for it, 5 shillings.
Wow.
And that was never changed. So you take that from the 1950s when it was, implemented, up to the 70s, 5 shillings. What would you get for 5 shillings?
Exactly.
You know?
And absolutely
And
wonderful.
it stayed that
Yeah.
way. So that really killed off the ballroom as we remembered it.
Right.
Because before that, people would have to have their drink outside in a pub and then come into the dance.
That's right. Used to not come in till about 12 o'clock
Now
as
they
well.
were going to discos. And when the disco started out, you wouldn't believe the amount of people around the bar. I mean, the main attraction was the bar. You could have them 10, 12 deep, waiting to have a drink because it was after closing time in the pubs, and they could stay drinking, you know.
But like you broke in, as I said before, you broke into the English country music scene, which was unknown for Irish bands. I mean, what was it? Did you think that opened that little bit of the door for you? Because that was a hard scene, and it still is a hard scene for any Irish act to actually break into.
Would you say image? You know,
Yeah, well, it's
the
sort of
show,
it happened
presentation.
from playing the Irish centres, and then you've got the odd stray country fan that will come along out of curiosity, and I don't know how did the Pontins Festival start?
That would have been, as you're saying, people come along, go back to their clubs, and most of the festivals that we would have played at would be all of the clubs uniting and having their festival week or two. And when we started that, actually, it was 2 weeks you would have over in Hemsby, 2 full weeks. We were able to go in and do a night on the way into Hemsby, and then the next week do a night on our way home.
Right.
Because you had 2 different crowds, 1 week and the next week. So, I mean, that was huge. The festivals were huge then. Now they're down to maybe a weekend or one night. But that's just the way things are.
Well, listen, Brian and Eamonn, thank you for joining us here on the Irish Connection Country Show and sharing some of your memories with us.
Yeah.
We're now going to have some music from the Indians, from one of their videos. And after this, we're going to be back with you, and we're going to be talking to their current lead singer, Raymond Kelly. And that's coming up after we heard some music from the Indians.
All right. CrazyHorse. CrazyHorse, come on down here. There's a little number, has a little routine to it. And it's called a wigwam wiggle. If Sitting Bull here in the back and Dull Knife and Little Thunder does it with us, it should go well. It goes like this. You ready? Around about the town that music just began. They let the tribe of Indians take off the Cheyenne. And they started to dance, it was all the rage. Squaws and braves of every age called the wigwam wiggle, crazy Indian dance. They did the wigwam wiggle every morning and night. They did the wigwam wiggle, boy, they could do it right. They wiggle back, wiggle fro, the wiggle any way that the hips can go. That's the wigwam wiggle, crazy Indian dance. Now the Indians really started something there. Still people wigwam wiggled everywhere. Once they got started, they couldn't stop. A wiggle, the shuffle, and then a hop. It's the wigwam wiggle, crazy Indian dance. They did the wigwam wiggle every morning and night. They did the wigwam wiggle, boy, they could do it right. They wiggle back, wiggle fro, The wiggle any way that the hips can go. That's the wig, wham, wiggle, crazy Indian dance. Well, now come on, all you people, grab some fun. And hear the wig, wham, wiggle the way it shot me down. Don't stop to think if you're doing it right. You wiggle, shake it with all your might. The wig, wham, wiggle, crazy Indian dance. You do the wig, wham, wiggle every morning and night. Yeah, the wig, wham, wiggle, boy, you can do it right. Ooh. You wiggle back, wiggle fro, wiggle any way that your hips can go. That's the wig, wham, wiggle, crazy Indian dance. Yeah, the wig, wham, wiggle, crazy Indian dance. That's the wig, wham, wiggle, crazy Indian dance.
Well, there you go. That was the Indians featuring their original lead singer, of course, Noel Brady, known as Flaming Star, and a track from them, which we talked about in the interview, a little thing called Wig Wham Wiggle. And we're back talking to the Indians about them celebrating 40 years on the road. And we're joined in the studio this time by their current lead singer, Geronimo. Raymond Kelly, you're very welcome along to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Nice to have you back again.
It's great, yeah, it's great.
I mean, the last time you were here with us, we were only talking about the 40 years on the road, and now it's all happened and it's come about, and the great day has arrived.
Hard to believe, isn't it, really?
I know. I mean, how does it feel that you've taken on such a legacy after, you know, as I said, like Noel Brady, who kicked it all off all those years ago, all the way 40 years later, Raymond Kelly out there as Geronimo.
Yeah. It's all surreal, to be honest, you know, and I'm really privileged to be in such a band has lasted all those years and doing fantastic, to be honest. And I really are sort of, how can I say, overwhelmed, you know, that I hope to continue on with the great work that Noel and the boys did all those years ago. And it's a great honour to be in the band with the guys, I must admit.
Now, Eamonn, I mean, obviously, like, as I said, the current chief, Geronimo there. Eamonn drops off, as I said. We're going to put that down to his old age. But listen, like, you've been there from the beginning with all the chiefs down. Now, you've had five chiefs, haven't you?
Yes, Raymond would be the fifth, yes.
Be the fifth. Now, tell us about the other ones. Noel, of course, we know about.
Too many chiefs. Not enough Indians.
So tell us a little bit about some of the other chiefs that have actually tread the boards with the Indians.
Well, we had Noel, and he served the bands fantastic, amazing. In fact, he still comes back to us every March. We have a weekend we do over in Norfolk every year, and Noel will come in and sing for you know, best part of half an hour. But unfortunately for Noel, he lost the voice and he just couldn't sustain doing a 2-hour programme so many nights in the week. Then his son took over, and we called him Rising Sun, S-O-N. And he was doing a great job replacing his dad, and his dad would sing as well. The two of them were on stage together.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it was super, and it was great. And it was, you know, from a father-son kind of point of view, it was really excellent for the people, you know, the punters. But didn't Paul have an accident on Christmas Day, heading home to his mother's, and the car went out of control in Dublin, and he was left at the scene. I mean, he was at the scene dead. They inflated his lungs from the side of the rib cage, brought him back, but he was so badly broken up. He's got a plate in his leg, and you know, all kinds of work they had to do with him. Right. So he never got back to being on stage. After that, we had to get another one, and we were very fortunate. We picked up Kevin Kearney, a chap from Newry. He was called Golden Eagle. Great voice, still has a great voice, and still would be doing a circuit down around that area still. Kevin then had to, for family reasons, had to give up being on the road. He didn't give up singing at all, but had to give up travelling over to England and Scotland and where all the places we play. So then we had to replace him then with the next fellow, who was Stephen Proctor. And Stephen would be from Portadown area in Armagh. We called him White Cloud. Stephen, great, lovely fellow, great singer, was very good with the people, but he became chronic diabetic. With the end result was that he needed a kidney and a pancreas. So he had to leave, give up to get this, or to wait for a donor, which took some time. But we were really delighted that we got Raymond came along.
How did you find Raymond?
I don't listen. The way we've been so lucky with our chiefs, they're all great performers.
Aren't they? Yes.
And Raymond would be where I'm living in Coleraine now. And Raymond is from not too far from me. But Tommy, our guitar player, knew of this band that was playing in the area, doing weddings and doing, different functions in the area. And Raymond would have been a great fan of Noel Brady's in Noel's day, and would have come and knew all our songs, knew everything. So we had to get together with Raymond, and he agreed to come to the band. And here he is, in all his glory.
So Raymond, back with you. How long have you been a member of the Indians now?
I'm on my 5th year. Coming January 3rd, I'll be 5 years in the band. So hard to believe. I can't.
It is very, very hard to get. Because of course, Eamonn, getting back to you just about the band itself. I mean, you and Brian are the only original members. Just take us through the other two guys that are not here with us today.
Well, there's more than two, because we started out as a 7-piece.
That's right, all those years ago. I remember on one of your albums, which I've still got at home.
Yes. Well, Dougie gave up the business completely. That was Dougie Walsh. He gave up the business completely. He was the keyboard player at the time. We called him Spotted Tail. And he gave up. He just decided, and this was at the height of things. The travelling was too much for him. Shay, who would have been our country singer in the Indians and sang all of the tracks bar one on our first album. Shay O'Reilly, he was Medicine Crow and he died. He, unfortunately, of cancer. So that's two down. We have then John Woodfull, Brian's brother. He retired to go to his first love, which was painting.
Right.
He's an artist. And any earnings he makes is tax-free because he's registered as an artist, and would export an awful lot of his work, does great work, and still would have his place in Dublin in Parish Court Shopping Centre. So that's how many now have we got there? There's 3, and then Noel, of course, you heard about Noel, that's 4.
That's 4, yeah.
But no, we've, for very good reasons, people had to pack it in, yeah.
No, I mean, talk about who's on lead guitar for you, and he's been
Tommy
with you.
Hopkins.
Tommy Hopkins. He's been with you a few years.
Tommy's with us over 20 years now.
See?
Yeah, and he's still only the baby of the band, you know.
I know, he's the one with the baby face.
Yeah, but he is the baby. I mean, he's the youngest in the band.
I know.
Still.
And who have you got back on drums?
We have a fella called Kevin McKeown, great drummer. He was with the, we call him Long Arrow because he's so tall. But Kevin was over and he's playing with the Irish Rovers in Canada for 23 years. We heard he was home. Chris Malahy, our drummer, Little Thunder, he had to leave because of back problems, had a couple of vertebrae removed and that kind of thing. So he couldn't travel bumpy roads at the time. We now have your motorways.
That's right, because the roads in Ireland are notorious for that, yeah.
So we don't go around the horseback all the time, you know. At the odd time, this fella does.
But Raymond, you've been with them, as you said, 5 years now. I mean, again, did you realise that, the pedigree that you were taking on when you first sort of took on the job? Because, I mean, as I said to Eamonn, and Eamonn explained, it's not just being a lead singer of a band. You've got to really portray yourself. You've got to throw yourself into it, which Eamonn agreed that everybody should do this. Yeah. But I mean, like most lead singers can get away with singing the song, standing there or moving to the back or something. You can't. You're there in the limelight. It's what the people look for every night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, did you realise when you took this job on that, you were going to have to do so much?
Yeah, well, actually, as I say, I was a great fan of Noel Brady's and Indians. My brother was a big fan as well, so I had seen a few things of Brian had, really, and the songs were doing fantastic, but the stage show, that was unbelievable. So to have to do that there, I was the music really takes over once you go on the stage with the Indians. It just pumps out everything, and you're doing stuff you don't believe you are doing, to be honest, you know, sort of thing.
Can I say something? Raymond is very modest.
Oh,
He's
he is.
extremely. He cannot praise himself. He just
But
cannot.
He
goes a storm with everybody. After, before, during, he goes a storm with everybody, and he's himself. No matter what way, when or where you meet him.
And I mean,
Yes.
the guy never puts weight on. That's what amazes me. I mean,
It'll annoy the hearts out of me, you know.
I know.
I have to go walking every day.
But like you do, I mean, you use up so much energy when you're on stage
that's
because
great.
you're constantly moving about. I mean, like whether it be doing the wigwam wiggle or like singing a slow song, you're always moving around. I mean, when you start out, I mean, you were talking that you were a big fan of Noel's. Did you watch any videos of Noel's just to
Yes.
get an idea what
Yes, I
you
did,
could
yes.
probably implement into your part of the show?
Yes. And as I say, the music does take over your body, and if you love music so much, you know, everybody out there that loves music, will realise, you know, understand what I'm saying. And I say the fans are so great as well, and we're very lucky to have a big following.
Yeah, very live.
Yes,
Really.
And so I'm very lucky too that they accepted me, as you say, not just had to sing, I had to please the fans as well. So I was very lucky that they took me on as well. So yeah, it's great.
Do you want to tell me about the echinacea? Huh?
Echinacea, yeah, it's no problem. Good stuff.
The only man in show business that never gets a cold because he takes echinacea 40. I tell you what, absolutely amazing. Now let's talk about your new album, which, as I said, is currently out. It's called From the Beginning, and it features the whole 5 chiefs of the Indians, including, as I said, Raymond there. I mean, tell us a little bit about how you got the idea for this. This was obviously to tie in with your 40 years, Eamonn.
Yes, and it's also a tribute to all of the lads because, I mean, they are the front men and they have kept us going with their leadership out front. So, as a tribute to all of them, we put them all and let people hear the various styles. Every one of them are excellent singers with their own little style, you know.
I mean, talking of the recording of this album, I mean, did you have to get the 5 of them all together to re-record things, or did you use stuff?
I would have had you know, tracks from before. The lads, as I say, they're all fine singers. We just had to remix and give it more an up-to-date balance in the sound.
And who done the actual production on it? Was it yourself and somebody else?
Yes, yeah, Stephen Smith.
Stephen Smith and yourself,
Yes.
who of course has been a guest on this show as well.
Yes, Stephen.
And I mean, like as I said before, it's beautifully put together. It tells you that it's like an autobiography of the Indians, really, because
Yes.
it takes you from Noel through to Geronimo,
Yes.
Raymond here, as I said, and all their different songs and stuff
Yes.
like that. I mean, are you going to be doing a DVD to go along with this particular album?
What we are going to do, Sean, is we're going to have certain shows with the 5 chiefs on it, and we hope to video these shows.
Now, tell us a little bit about this, because this, again, as I said, has been in the pipeline for a long time, which you told me about last year, and I mean, you were saying it's coming up in January.
It's all set up for certain venues, yes.
Right. Now, when does all this kick off, that you and the Indians with their 5 chiefs are going to be hitting the stage and doing the concert venues?
We start in March, on the 18th and the 19th of March in Hemsby over in Norfolk, which that weekend is sold out, has been sold out since long before Christmas. Right. And then we go to Aberdeen. In the meantime, like between these gigs, we'll be performing as the Indians normally anyway. But we have Easter weekend in Aberdeen in the Beach Ballroom. Fabulous venue up there.
Because you've played that over the years, haven't you?
Yeah,
right
we
back
do.
from the beginning.
We do that a couple of times a year, every year. And then we have in May, we have a weekend over in the Ollingham Arms Hotel in Bundoran, Donegal. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's the last weekend. It would be the bank holiday weekend in the UK in May.
And will the 5 chiefs be in the Allingham?
Yes, they'll be performing on each of those shows, yeah.
Raymond, how do you feel now that you're going to be actually reunited with all the guys that you've actually taken over from?
I'm really looking forward to it. I've met the guys and they're all brilliant guys, and I'm looking forward to be on stage with them. It's fantastic, yes.
There's going to be a few feathers flying in those gigs.
Yes.
Absolutely,
let's hear you.
That was a good pun. I tell you what, I'm glad I got that one in, because I knew Eamonn was aiming to get that in. But yeah, I mean, like, are you really looking forward to hooking back up with Noel and all the guys?
I mean, it's a great honour to be on stage, say, with Noel. I was a great fan of his, and other guys as well. They're all fantastic singers in their own right. And it's going to be a great show for all the fans out there. To be really.
I mean, have you got to go into rehearsals for this, or has already been planned, or have you?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have song lists for each fella, so we won't have duplications and vocals, you know what I mean?
Oh, right.
So each fella will have his own program.
And I mean, you said like you're doing the Allingham Arms in Bundorna. I mean, anywhere else? Are you going to be doing like any place like the Riverside Theatre in Coleraine or any of those small little theatres?
Possibly, yes. There's a very good possibility. I'm actually only talking to them now, like some Millennium and Derry.
Right.
Yeah, Derry City. We hope to do there. We will have to get something in this more immediate area, like could be Tullyglass House Hotel in Ballymena. We'll just see what way
is it? And of course, as you said before, you're going to get the shows videoed as well, aren't you, for
a video,
DVD?
And then it means then we can edit in and have a DVD of all the fellas then.
Now, talking of the Indians as well, I mean, and television, recently you did a TG4 show, didn't you?
Yes,
For TG
yeah.
Kaha.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, their Gloria show. I mean, again, that portrayed the Indians.
Absolutely,
I mean,
yeah.
again, another milestone in your stepping stones.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
I mean, did you enjoy that
It was
process?
great, absolutely super.
Raymond was super there. I mean, he sang live the whole show. You know.
And I mean, of course, as well as being live, you had an audience in front of you as well.
That's
it wasn't
right,
as if you were doing it just in the
Yes,
studio.
it was a great experience, absolutely fantastic, yeah.
Well, listen, guys, Eamonn, and of course, as I said, Geronimo, thank you so much indeed for gracing us with your pleasure on the Irish Connection Country Show. I really appreciate it, and it's been something I've wanted to do for a long time to, show my appreciation of the Indians, because I've been following them since back, well, I wouldn't even dare about it. And I mean, I've got that original album that you were talking
Not
about.
to be going back too far. I don't think I'll go and sleep again.
Eamonn, I have actually got that original album that you talked about, as I said, with top line promotions and all that stuff.
Indian country.
Like, as I said before, it's great. It's something that, as I said, many congratulations on celebrating 40 years.
You
deserve it. I mean, and as I said, no better band to have as guests on my show today. Thank you really very much from the bottom of my heart for coming in, all of you. Brian, yourself, and of course
Thank you very
Raymond
much for
as well.
having us. Yeah,
and as I said before, that just about wraps the show up, which, as I said, has been a very special show in recognition of 40 years of honouring the Indians. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep your feet in the ground and keep reaching for the stars. Goodbye, everybody.